so much for coming on the Life of KG. I've been so excited for this episode.
Honestly, it's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me. Grateful to be here. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So I'm going to start with my quick fire questions, if you're ready.
As ready as I'll ever be.
So, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oh, it gives me severe anxiety, coffee. I cannot touch it.
Just black coffee in the morning, or bullet coffee in the morning, and one other black coffee at max. That's it. And then it's water. That's it.
That's good. Working in the business or on the business? So in the chair or out of the chair?
On the business.
Are you still in the business currently?
So I still cut hair, but I cut hair one day a week mobile now because I'm working on the Lions Barber Collective so much. Although I do find, to be honest with you, I find cutting hair now very mindful. It's almost like an escapism because I don't have emails going off or phones going or anything like that. I am literally in that moment. I'm with that client, having a conversation, touching their head, feeling the hair. And it's actually quite therapeutic now, I suppose.
I actually found that. So I stepped out of the business about 6 years ago, but I go back at Christmas. And I went back this Christmas to do lashes and I couldn't do anything but lash. So there was no emails, no WhatsApp, no phone calls. And I was like, this is cool. Summer or winter?
Oh, that's so hard. I like sunny days, but I quite like in the winter. Do you know what I mean? So if you think of a typical winter in the UK, it's very wet, isn't it? So the sunny winter days, I would say, are best.
Perfect. Netflix or work?
I don't even have Netflix, so it'd have to be work. I'm probably
TV
the only person that doesn't have Netflix. Work, definitely work, yeah.
Same. Podcast or a book?
Podcast. I've just literally been training myself back to listening to audiobooks. I was driving instead of just listening to random podcasts all the time. So I just did a big drive this week and I managed to listen to a whole audiobook, which was 10X by Grant Cardone.
I haven't read that
really
one.
Good. It's good. It's very good. It's the second time I've sort of refreshed myself, but yeah.
I'll have to check that one out. So those that are listening, some of them might know who you are, some of them might not. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Okay, so I am Tom Chapman. I'm the founder of, probably most well-known, but being the founder of the Lions Barber Collective, which is a suicide prevention charity and mental health charity. We have a vision of a world free from suicide, and our mission is to create as many non-clinical, non-judgmental, safe spaces where people feel comfortable to talk about their mental well-being and then be able to offer them information and support to help them, basically. We do things like pop-up barbershops at different crazy locations, like on training platforms, cutting hair, to open up conversation around mental health. I also developed a training program. We have Barber Talk and Hair and Beauty Talk, and they both train hairdressers and barbers and therapists to be able to have safe communications around mental well-being. I was a global barber director for 𝐒𝐢𝐟𝐞 Cosmetics up until the 1st of January this year, where I stepped down for that so I can focus more on the charity, but I am an international educator, so I cut hair and platform work and education, building things like that. And I'm also an author. I've written 3 books. My kids' book first kids' book come out last year, and my 4th book, How to Listen So Men Will Talk, comes out on April the 14th this year. So that's a brief overview.
Wow, so you are super busy. Your books, are they on mental health as well?
So the first one's called The Barber Boom, and that's about the barbering industry. And it was very much based on, I was traveling around the world, sat at these hair shows in bars or restaurants afterwards, having the conversation around barbering, like, why is it so big? Why is it growing? Is it continuing to grow? Is education important? Are competitions important? What's the best tools? Blah, blah, blah. And I thought it's quite interesting hearing all these different points of view and all the different journeys that these people have taken to get to their success. So I interviewed a group of people asking the same questions, and it kind of turned out to be a great tool for those at the beginning of the hair industry to realize that you don't have to just work behind a chair. you don't have to be on stage to be successful. You can open franchises, you can be a business, you can do hair on, I don't know, TV and film, and it's just to show people there's a much broader thing to the industry. And the second one is Barber Talk, and it's more of a bit of the backstory of the Lions Barber Collective, why and how. And then my kids' book is around mental well-being, for especially for young boys, because I've got 2 young boys. And then my next one is based on the training that I developed.
Wow, amazing. Where can people get them if they're interested in purchasing?
They're all available in all good bookstores, as they say. But no, it's Amazon, Waterstones, so you can get them from all those kind of places, yeah.
Amazing. So obviously you're very successful. You've been in the industry for a long time. What's your backstory? How did you get into the barbering industry?
I went through education. I was reasonably academic. I did back in the day when you didn't have to do your A-levels, I did my GCSEs and had the great results that enabled me to go and do A-levels. So I just went on that path and did that because that's what I was sort of told I had to do. And then I was predicted good enough grades to go to university. So that was my route. I'd applied and I was going to university to study ancient history and Egyptology because I thought I was Indiana Jones probably. But I then decided that actually that's probably not the best thing for me. And I was very much into music, alternative music. So I was cutting my own hair, dyeing it different colors, cutting my friend's hair, pink, red, leopard print, everything, just trying a trial and error. And my mum suggested to me, why don't you go to hairdressing? And it was just sort of like this light bulb moment that thinking, God, why has no one ever said that to me before? When all of my tutors, teachers realized that I was doing people's hair, they'd always make a joke out of it. What's your hair going to be like next week? Oh, whose hair have you cut this week, Tom? But then when I went and told them that I was going to take that career path, they were all disappointed in me. They all said, I can't believe you're not going to university. I can't believe why would you want to go and be a hairdresser? All that kind of stuff. And then I was met with the same sort of view when I got into the industry as well. The people I was working with, the other assistants at Tony and Guy, I said, I wish I'd worked harder to go to uni. And that became it was kind of quite shocking to me, because I thought, why would you not want to be in this industry? It's amazing. It's creative. I had the freedom to look how I wanted to look, to interact with people every day, have human interaction, license to touch, license to create. I think it's just such an amazing industry. So that was really kind of eye-opening to me, but I absolutely loved it. And it was the best decision I ever made to go into hairdressing at Tony and Guy and work my way through that. And that, I don't know how Tony and Guy ended up being barbering, but it was a case, I think, back to the alternative music scene, and my friends being in that scene, they all wanted things like shaved heads and flat tops and mohawks, and you can't really do that scissor over comb, which is what you're taught at Tony and Guy. So I got a pair of clippers and taught myself. And then all of the girls that I worked with at Tony and Guy didn't want to cut the men's hair, so the men ended up in my chair. And that's kind of how that developed into that male grooming, male barbering kind of side of things.
Wow. So from Tony and Guy, did you go and open up your own barber shop?
So from Tony and Guy, I left there because they closed when they were getting rid of all they were just making everything outside London franchisee, and the ones that weren't franchisee, they ended up closing down just for management, I think, capacity. So our one closed down, and I went and worked for another independent salon until 2011 when I opened my own salon. And that was really what kickstarted it for me, because I used that space as it was a salon from 9 till 6 or whatever, but it was also a photographic studio. I do photo shoots now and training, and we even used to have a thing called salon sessions, which was I managed to get sponsorship from Old J Spiced Rum, and Domino's Pizza was across the road. They supported us. Sorry, excuse me. Even Krispy Kreme supported us for a few of these things. And we would have live music events in the salon. So I'd move once a month. I'd move all the furniture out of the way, and we'd have DJs, all of live bands, sound systems, smoke machines, lights, free pizza, free drinks, and that was for our clients only, basically. But it was all about. It became a community hub, if you know what I mean. That's what it kind of grew, and then that enabled my name to grow within the industry. I was able to do photo shoots, enter more competitions. I had more freedom, and that was probably the biggest step forward for me at that point. It was, I would say, that opening that shop was the best thing I'd done career-wise up until that point, because it gave me the ability to do photos, enter competitions, create a name for myself, create a community. But selling it was also the best thing I did after that, you know, because it freed me up to do all the other things that I do now.
Did you get to the point where you was like, I can't have the shop anymore because I'm so busy? So then that's why you had to sell it? Like, where was your headspace with that?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a really difficult thing to do, because it felt like it was failure, because you're shutting a shop or you're selling a shop. You kind of feel like you're giving up on something. And I think we're going to solve this thing by society, that's a failure. But actually, I was doing so many things. Because of the shop, it enabled me to become a global presenter or a global stylist or platform artist, whatever you want to call it. So I was going away and I was traveling, and I would be in LA doing a hair show, and I'd get a phone call from the salon at 3 o'clock in the morning saying things like, oh, the internet's not working, or, you know, and trying to manage those two things, and coming back, and we didn't have, the finances hadn't gone in because I wasn't there, so it wasn't being managed properly. It was just a big bit of headache, really, trying to manage those things. Plus, the Alliance Barber Collective kicked off around that time as well. So, and I had my first child. Well, I didn't have it, but we had our first child, and you know, and there was all these things that were happening at one time. And my dad actually said to me, like, you need to weigh up everything and see what you want to do and take something out of there, because you're spinning too many plates. And he said, when you think of all those things, what's the thing that excites you the least? He said, take that one away, and it'll free you up. And I think to their surprise, and I also think definitely to my accountant's surprise, like I was like, I am going to get rid of the business, and it was a big gamble, definitely a big gamble to get rid of that, and rely on my global stuff, because I've worked out, my wife was staying at home with the boy, and I worked out that if I did at least one trip a month, I could cover all of our bills, and then I could spend the rest of the 3 weeks that month working on the charity and building that up. And it was a big risk, and it was tough, but it definitely was the right decision to make.
It really, really interesting, because it does get to the point where, like you said, you're spinning too many plates. And when you're doing that, they keep dropping and then lifting and then dropping, and then and your mind as well is just everywhere. And I think even if you step out of a salon like you did, and like I have, you still in your head know that they're working, know that they need you, know that you need to be on call. So then as your company grows, or your presence grows like you have, or like obviously I'm doing 1,000,001 things as well, something sometimes always does have to give. So I remember when I first sold one of my salons, and everyone was like, oh, you sold, was it not doing very well? And I'm like, it was doing absolutely perfect, actually. Yeah. But I got the money out of it, and I freed my time. And then went on to sell some other salons. I've got one left now. So I definitely, I totally agree with that. And I think it's also good to know, for those in our industry that are in salon, or that are growing, or do have multiple businesses, it is okay to drop things every now and then. We don't have to do everything, because I think people watch other people. They might watch you, they might watch me, they might watch other people and think, God, they're doing everything. How are they doing that? But it's always good to know that you don't have to do everything. We're not doing everything. We've dropped things in the past.
It's perception, isn't it? It's people's perception of and people generally put out all the best things, or people only take note of the best things. And, you know, we all have things like low mood. We all have tough decisions to make, but people generally don't project that as much. And there's a big thing with I think, you know, people see us doing certain things, or they'll hear this, and hopefully they'll realize that, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. And we go on our Instagram feeds, we go on our Twitter, we go on our Facebook, and we're comparing ourselves all the time to other people's expectations, or other people's lives that probably aren't even real. Do you know what I mean? It's all just content they've created. And I think there's transparency over that, and actually focusing on yourself. I mean, I've literally taken Instagram off my phone. I've deleted my Facebook. I don't even look at that thing. It wasn't serving me at all. You know, and I'm not saying social media is bad, because if it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't be doing things I'm doing today. I'd probably still be working in that shop in Torquay. It's enabled me to do lots of things, but it's like anything. It's like how you use that tool effectively. Even things like a podcast or a microphone. If I came on here and said ridiculous things and was like, you know, made stupid comments or horrible comments, that's going to be projected out into the world, like on social media. If you use it well, if you use social media to project yourself well and show off good things, it'll help you project, it'll help you grow, it'll help you make contacts, networking. Well, it's all about how we use it. And I think it should be used more as a outward facing thing rather than the inward facing thing, because a lot of people just absorb it, and that can be quite dangerous. We need to project the best things about you out into the world for your social media. Be the ones that people are double tapping on, not the one doing the double tapping.
Oh, definitely. You obviously have a very clear passion for mental health, and obviously you've got your charity, you're doing loads of work constantly. Where does that passion originally come from?
So I lost a friend to suicide in 2014. I was completely unaware that he was struggling. I realized that he was the first person that I felt was taken from us. I'd lost my granddad, and he was older, and it's like nature. It's a natural way of things. You do lose people, but when someone's 27 and they take their life, and you're completely unexpecting it, you've seen them days before and had a conversation with them, it's a different kind of grieving, because there's so many questions unanswered. It's not natural. There's a lot of questions yourself. You know, I remember thinking, why would he do this? Why would he leave everyone behind? Why would, you know, at the time as well, you think things like, oh, they're selfish. How could they do this to all these people? And yeah, and actually, obviously, I've been educated along the way and realized that, you know, it's definitely not a selfish act. But I can remember being at his funeral, and I was one of the first people to not have a seat because it was so busy. And I was ushered to the front, stood next to him, his coffin down beside me, looking back at the room, which is a very unique position to being at a funeral. Normally you're looking at the back of people's heads, and it's quite an insular, emotional time, a wedding or a funeral, isn't it? It's your emotions, maybe the people next to you, but other than that, you're concentrating on people speaking. And I was up there next to the person speaking, next to Alex, looking back at this room of sadness and love and questions and anger, and I was thinking, how can you have this many people that love you and care for you, yet you felt so alone to go and end your own life? And that really afterwards made me think, we need to do something about this. I'd never really experienced mental health before that, and that was really my big thing. That was the catalyst to make me go and do this. I say a year passed before anything actually really happened, and I started a project and to get a load of barbers together to raise awareness for something. I didn't really know what at the time. And I wanted to create a lookbook of haircut images that would be in barber shops that men would pick up, and it would create awareness for something. And Paul Mack from Ireland suggested to me in this group chat we had, what about suicide prevention? And I was just like, how did I not know that was it? I didn't even know that was a thing. I'd lost friends to suicide. I'd thought about trying to change something or make a difference, and I was completely unaware that suicide prevention, mental health charities even existed, and I'd been directly affected. So how many other people out there are struggling alone? And that was it, and that was the start of it, and it's evolved organically ever since.
Wow, incredible. I'm obviously very, very sorry to hear about your friend, but look at the amazing things that you're doing to help other people from that situation. It's pretty special.
I hope that he approves. And I met his when we filmed our documentary, I met his sister for the first time since the funeral. I never really knew her. I knew him, and for her saying that he would approve, or they approved as a family, then that was big. That was a big thing for me. And yeah, we always said that if we could save one life from this effort, that it's worth it, because of all the loss and pain and that's affected afterwards. But we've saved many lives now, and we've had 2 this week directly that we've had conversations with and intervened and kept them alive at very, very critical moments as well. So it's all worthwhile. People getting in touch with us because it's awareness. People know that there's other people out there.
Definitely, because they feel so alone, don't they? So when they reach out to you, they know they're not alone, and then hopefully you can change their minds like you have done this week, which is so powerful. You opened the Lion Barbers in London. Tell me more about this and the concept around that.
So the idea is, eventually I'd like to have Lion's barbershops, or eventually it could even just be Lion's hair. Do you know what I mean? Lion's hair and beauty. It doesn't have to be strict barbershops. And it started with barbering because I lost a male friend. I was in the barbering space. I found out that suicide is the biggest killer in young people. 75% of them are men, and men's mental health is a big issue. And that but we've kind of grown out from that massively anyway. And the cat's out of the bag. I'm actually a hairdresser, so the idea of the Lion's Barbers, for me, I want to create sustainability for this charity. At the moment, I know that if I stop, then the charity will stop. Eventually, it will go away, and I need to get to a point where if I stop or drop down or whatever happens, this charity continues to do the work, and we need to create sustainability for that. So it's all about creating a revenue stream really for a non-profit barbershop or a future hair salons, beauty therapists, whatever it becomes. But the idea is that the barbers and hairdressers will get paid their wage, we'll pay the bills, but there's no one taking profits off the top. All the profits will go back into the charity. And the idea is that shop will actually look after its community as well. So the barbers will be trained in there in have safe communication around mental well-being. They will also be connected to all the mental health resources locally. What NHS resources are available, local Samaritans. Are there any local walking groups for men? Are there any support groups for women? Are there any talking therapy? What's available so we can bridge the gap between the communities that we serve that aren't accessing these resources and those resources that I just mentioned, so that something that's a non-clinical, non-judgmental safe space that people are used to going to, like the barbers, especially for men, can become that bridge to access something that's probably a bit more we're not trying to become professional, we're not trying to become therapists, but something that is that professional space, and with a softer approach, because it's reaching the unreachable. 72% of people who take their life have had no contact with mental health services in the 12 months before they die, but they've probably had a haircut, or they've probably had the nails done, or they've probably had a colour treatment, or whatever it may be. So we're thinking if we can get into those spaces in the communities, we might be able to catch them before they get to that point and pass them on to these resources that are available. So that's one idea for the barbershops. Obviously the financial sustainability for charity, but also supporting the local area so the barbers and hairdressers have a space to go if they want to offload. Also, we're talking with some big brands about how we can offer free education for the hairdressers and barbers in that area as well. So you're upskilling the hairdressers and barbers in that area with free mental health training that's with funds from the shop, and also free hair and beauty training with our partners. And we're actually, we haven't signed on the dotted line yet, but it is with the legals at the moment, to a partnership with Network Rail. So we're going to be opening our first proper, our own Lions Barbershop at Reading Station this year, which will help hopefully bring some sort of funding and stuff to the rest of the hair and beauty industry in Reading. And I know that the guys at Estée Lauder are going to help out with free education there. And I've had this conversation with Andis hair clipper company as well about free education, which they're willing to support. So not only will we be able to do the mental health side of things, we're going to hopefully be able to upskill the Reading area.
Amazing, absolutely incredible. And I remember reading about the barbershop and obviously the non-profit organization, and I could not get it out of my head. I thought, this is just incredible. I would turn my salon tomorrow into non-profit for them profits to go elsewhere. I couldn't get it out of my head. So I just think it's an absolutely incredible thing that you're doing. And if more people took on that concept as well, imagine how many people that everyone could help. Amazing.
Yeah, I think it's things for mental health, especially. I think it's all of our responsibility to look after ourselves and look after those around us. I think the problem is we're not aware of it. We don't know how to. We don't know. Mental health has a moving scale like physical health, right? We all have a cold one day, and we know that's different. We know that's our physical health being affected, but we know that's different from cancer or, I don't know, heart attacks or whatever. But with mental health, we seem to think of it as only those things over there, the diagnosed clinical terms like anxiety, depression, suicide, bipolar. And actually, we all have mental health because we all have a brain. We all suffer loss. We all have up and down days. We all have low moods. If we had a bad day and we're feeling low, we'd tell ourselves we've got to pick ourselves up and get to work. If you had sickness and migraines, you would say, well, I need to get some rest, get some sleep, recharge, have good food, good intake, vitamins, whatever it may be, medication. But we don't allow ourselves that for mental health. So I think this is the sort of next level, taking responsibility for ourselves and also responsibility for those around us, and we can really make a difference then.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people listening to this are in their hair and beauty space, but I'd say predominantly beauty, and it's been very big the last year of like domestic violence for our industry, and how to train the therapists around the signs of that. What tips would you give to anyone listening to help raise awareness, to look out for signs, for the teams to kind of look out for them signs?
Look, I think we're in such an amazing position. I think even more so in the beauty, you got such an amazing license to touch, and you feel their energy, you absorb their energy from them, and you have a level of trust, intimacy. Like how many people do you touch on a daily basis as a beautician or therapist? It's phenomenal amounts compared to the general public who never have that level of intimacy with anyone other than their lover and their mother, and that's probably about it. So I think you will be able to feel what that person is feeling. I think essentially through essentially it comes down to changes in behavior, changes in the way they're acting, changes in their personality. If you have someone that comes and sees you regularly, you get to know what they're like, you get to know what their interests are, you get to know whether they want to just be quiet and not talk at all, or whether they talk or they just keep on talking to you whilst you're trying to give them a relaxing massage and they keep on turning their head and chatting to you. You know what those people are like, and if there's any slight change in that person's behavior, that is a sign that something has happened. It doesn't have to be negative, but it can be. But it's those changes in behavior are the opportunities we need to take to ask good questions. Go and say, you don't seem yourself. There's something going on. Would you like to talk to me? How are you feeling today? Really, really, we need to seize those opportunities, because we're scared of asking the questions, because we're scared of what answer we may get. But as soon as you see that change in that behavior in that person, you'll be able to see it, especially in your regulars. That is the opportunity to then say, you don't seem yourself today, Katie. How are you really feeling? Because you always say, you all right, mate? How's it going? When we first greet people, that's not a question. It's not an actual question. It's just a hello. So it's again asking them again later on.
Definitely. Is there any training that you would recommend for salons? Is there anything out there for salons to take on regarding training their staff more to notice signs?
So we do the hair and beauty talk, which is it's teamed up with 𝐏𝐸𝐴. Got sort of CPD points for it as well, and it's a 4-hour training session where we train people to recognize the signs that someone may be going through something, they're struggling, and maybe suffering with poor mental health, and then asking good questions. What kind of questions can you ask? When can you ask those questions? The third pillar is listening, so listening well with empathy, without judgment, and that seems to be one of the biggest parts for people. Afterwards they come out and realize that, oh my god, I wasn't listening as much as I thought I was. And then finally it's help. So it's about helping that person find the help they need, like we talked earlier on about bridging the gap between the resources available, because essentially we need to protect ourselves. We're in a great position to have these conversations, but we're not psychiatrists. We're not here to fix or solve anyone's problems, but we can start a conversation and let them know about what's available in that area. And then finally, we do a bit about the 5 steps to mental well-being, how to look after yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. And who's your support group? Who would you talk to? Who do you go to when you're in need? So it's a kind of a really great course to be able to give people the confidence to have these safe communication around mental well-being, but with their clients. But also, a lot of people realize that they need to work on their own mental well-being, or they know who they can talk to, how they need to offload as well. Because as a hair and beauty professional, we're listening to everyone else's stuff all day long. We take it on board, don't we? And we never get rid of it. So it's about realizing that we need to look after ourselves as well, because we are taking on all of that stuff, and we need to be able to have our spaces where we can offload to keep ourselves mentally well.
I actually didn't know you offered a course like that. So I had no idea. Yeah. So are the details of that on your website? Because I'll add them to the show notes.
Yeah, that's on the website. So you can actually go and take, so the Barber Talk and the Hair and Beauty Talk is the same content. Barber Talk is more hairy and tattooed, and Hair and Beauty Talk is much more glamorous and pretty. And basically just, but it's the same content. You can actually go and take the Barber Talk Lite for free on the training, which is lionsbarbercollective.com/Barber Talk -light or -light, I think it is. But I can send you the link for that, and you can do that. It takes about 20 minutes. That's a really good taster, and we're working with some other brands about trying to take this into a bigger space, and also working with 𝐉𝐸-CT to turn this into an actual qualification that we taught in FE colleges. So my goal is that this is taught to all the hair and beauty students, because to create any real long-lasting real change, we need to teach the next generation. And I can remember being 18 to 20 or whatever when I was at Tony & Guy on the shop floor cutting women's hair, and they start talking to me about the menopause or about relationships and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm a 20-year-old male. I have no idea. Like, I was quite innocent as well at the time. I have no idea what to say. What should I do? What should I, and affairs and divorces. And I was thinking, oh my God, no one prepares you for that. But we're prepared for health and safety, but not mental health and safety. And look, pictures of psoriasis and dandruff, and it's important. But I've been cutting hair 20 years, and I've come across those things a handful of times. Head lice with kids, a bit of psoriasis maybe, but mental health, I'm dealing with it every single day. People are coming telling me about their stresses, their strains, their workload, their divorces, their funerals, their engagements, and we have to do that. So my idea is that hopefully if we can eventually get this into colleges and schools, so all these next generation of hair and beauty professionals have that skill, it's going to make them feel more confident, it's going to make them feel comfortable, and we're going to make a bigger impact on the communities that we serve.
Definitely. I will add the links on the show notes, so anyone that's listening that wants to look at this more or put your teams on training, you can just click on the link and it'll take you there. It's so true, and even the training providers listening to this should think about incorporating this into their manuals and their, like you said, we're going through content indications all the time, but we're not adding in the mental health, the domestic violence, all of the other issues out there. So a really, really good way of looking at it. What's next for you, Tom, with life?
Oh my God, what is next? So I think we've got two really exciting things to follow on from that. Actually, is that we've got our first two Lions academies. So that's Milton Keynes College, the Hair and Beauty Department, and South Devon College, the college that I actually went to a million years ago. And not next week, but the week after, they're both launching their Lions academies, which means that they're teaming up with us to start off with. They're going to be doing all the students will be doing the Barber Talk Light training, but next year they're going to be taking on the 𝐉𝐸-CT qualification. So this is a start, really. Milton Keynes, there's no other hair and beauty schools in that area. Torbay, there's nothing else here. So hopefully, if we start now, in 10 years' time, everyone in this area should have had that training who works in the hair and beauty industry, and hopefully that will have an impact on the community itself, and the suicide rates, the mental health, and the mental well-being of our community. So that's one thing that I've really exciting coming up. Like I said, I've got my new book coming out in April, which is starting to get exciting for that. Reading Station, we've got that coming up. So there's loads of things coming. We've got a couple of training courses coming up. We're working with local councils as well. So like in Essex, Malden area, we've got one in Derbyshire. So yeah, there's loads going on all the time. It's a bit chaotic sometimes, but there's some really, really exciting things going on with some really huge brands, global brands as well, which will hopefully take us to the next level, creating more sustainability, because I think that every hair and beauty professional should have this in their arsenal, because we're put on the front line and we're dealing with it every day. We have no qualifications or training or experience around it. We just have to learn on our feet, whilst also doing a hugely skilled job and listening and talking and running a business and managing everyone else in the environment. So I think, yeah, it's something that we need.
A huge congratulations on everything you've achieved, Tom. It's just massively eye-opening and powerful to see everything that you are doing, and thank you for doing everything that you're doing within the industry. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone listening does as well. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, well, I want to say thank you for giving me a platform to talk as well, Katie. I think it's really important, and look, I think I want to try and uplift the entire industry. You know, people look down on, I'm just a therapist, I'm just a barber, I'm just a hairdresser, and we're so much more. We save people's lives, we have huge impact on people. You know, we are support systems for a lot of people, you know, and I think lockdowns proved that as well. So yeah, I want to lift up and celebrate our amazing industry as well. Oh, one other thing I need to talk about as well is the Collective Pride Awards. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's an award ceremony that I set up. This is the first year. Entries are closed. We've announced the winners now. We're celebrating on the April the 4th at the Barber Surgeons Hall in the centre of London. And the idea about my Collective Pride Awards was that we celebrate the creative and the skill level of our industry all the time, but we don't celebrate those who go above and beyond for their community, their clients, their colleagues, and all those unsung heroes of our industry. So that is the idea of the Collective Pride Awards. So you can see that at collectiveprideawards.co.uk, and that's open to all hair and beauty. This is the first year, but in May, I think the category is open again for the following year. So we want to see more beauty therapists coming in, because I know that you do amazing work as well. But to find me, Instagram's Tom Chapman Hair, Twitter is Here's Tommy, but then the Lions Barber Collective is just the Lions Barbers everywhere.
Perfect. So everyone, go and check it out. If you love this episode and you want to share more about everything that Tom is doing, please make sure you screenshot your phones as you're listening to the podcast and share and tag us so we can spread the word to even more people in our industry and outside our industry. Thank you, Tom, for having us, coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been absolutely fantastic. And if anyone wants to get more involved and be a volunteer, get in touch as well, because we're always looking for more volunteers to help us. Thank you.
Amazing.